So long before I picked up chopsticks, I picked up a paintbrush. Much of my childhood was spent at a desk, drawing, painting, creating. I grew up on Hong Kong Island, and you know that saying that when you live on Hong Kong Island, you never cross the harbor to the dark side? It's true. So much so that the very first time I ever landed in Sham Shui Po, I was in shock. The intensity, the chaos, the density, the rawness of it all. I felt like I was in a dystopia. At age 16, I went abroad for school. Where I went, there were hardly any Hong Kongers, and by the time I returned after uni, I could hardly speak Cantonese. Heck, I was even frequently mistaken as a tourist. I often felt like a stranger in my own hometown, and Hong Kong a stranger to me. Fast forward a couple years, I began my dream job as a flight attendant. My job allowed me to travel, see the world, to experience the beauty and discover the uniqueness of each city. I carry my sketchbook wherever I travel to and sketch along the way. Yet, through all these years, there was still one place yearning to be discovered and truly appreciated, and that was my hometown. In 2019, I left my life of flying behind and moved into hospitality. Let me tell you, work was crazy at times. And on one day off, I decided to do something I haven't really done before in Hong Kong. I dusted off my watercolor kit, came to the Graham Street Wet Market in Central, and with a bit of courage, I sat down and I started my very first urban sketch in Hong Kong. This is a special place for me. Among my somewhat blurry childhood memories of Hong Kong, I never forget these trips to this market with my mother, where we'd buy wonton wrappers from an old noodle maker, swimming fish from the fishmonger in the corner, even live chicken. Remember how folks used to blow on the bum of a chicken when you buy a live chicken back in the days? It's real. My mom totally did that. I mean, it's probably illegal these days. These were special memories. And after so many years, I was happy to see that some of these old shops are still around, although most of this market has already disappeared due to a massive urban redevelopment project that's taking place right in the heart of Hong Kong. I knew it is only a matter of time that whatever remains would one day vanish as well. And so, on my very rare days off, I began painting these seemingly mundane, ordinary places, places that we'd often pass by but would just as easily overlook. Each of my paintings typically takes weeks to months to complete, built layer upon layer. I insist on painting on location as much as I can because that allows me to really slow down, fully immerse myself in my surroundings, to over time develop a relationship with the shopkeepers, and to observe every tiny little detail through participant observation. And while in the process, try not to get run over by a car. Many of these shops and stalls have been around for, since mid last century. Many of them are family run, passed from generation to generation, and each one of them has a story to share. And while each of these stories can perfectly stand on their own, collectively, as I later came to realize, they all tell the story of the rise of Hong Kong. It is a story of perseverance and dedication. Without knowing, step by step, I've embarked on a journey of rediscovering my hometown, a place that often felt so familiar, yet at the same time, so foreign. And as my curiosity grew, what started off originally as just a hobby slowly turned into a mission to capture these disappearing, often untold stories of Hong Kong, a mission to preserve our memories and the memories of so many ordinary yet totally extraordinary individuals who've helped shape the Hong Kong that we know today. So by late 2020, just a few years ago, at the height of the pandemic, I decided to quit my job to pursue this mission because I knew it was either now or never. And so, from Mrs. Chen, the lovely chestnut roaster in Mongkok, to Uncle Choi, the very last birdcage maker at the bird market, to Oi Man Seng, my favorite family-run Dai Pai Dong in Sham Shui Po, to most recently, this is a painting I just completed a month ago, the Look brothers, the very last coppersmiths of Hong Kong. My work has taken me all across Hong Kong, covering diverse trades in literally what I consider a race against time. I think all of us here remember just how much we have lost in the past 1 year. From Bilki the Mahjong tile carver in Jordan, to Lin Hung Tea House, legendary 100-year-old dim sum parlor in Central, to beloved bakeries from Wan Chai to Kowloon City, to Hong Kong's very last sawmill. The list goes on and on and on. Whether it is to make way for urban redevelopment or businesses finally caving under the pressure of the pandemic, the speed at which old shops are closing down is truly staggering. And while some of these shops have received widespread media and public response, some may have even since then reincarnated, not all receive the same attention, like Mr. Lai, whose story I'll now share. For years now, every time I pass Lai Shuang Wan and come upon this little shack at the bottom of the steps off Tong Street, I'd pause and watch from a distance as this elderly couple hammers away, bending metal sheets, making mailboxes by hand. You see, there was a time in Hong Kong when almost everything used to be made by hand, even in Hong Kong. The metalworking industry, like many traditional trades and crafts, took off in the 1960s when Hong Kong was rapidly growing. Metal mailboxes adorned the entrances of every walk-up building, every village home, metal containers, foldable tabletops, metal buckets, all became household essentials. The introduction of plastic and later the arrival of mass production changed everything. And as the demand for metal craftsmen declined, one after another, metalsmith workshop went out of business. And eventually, as the years went by, Mr. Lai became one of Hong Kong's very last mailbox makers. Now, like many of our grandparents' generation, Mr. Lai was born in China, came to Hong Kong as a child, and he started apprenticing as a teenager with a master learning the craft of metalworking. By his 30s, he's worked his way up to opening his very own shop up on Hollywood Road to support his growing family. And it was around 1980s when he and his wife finally settled in his little shop on the steps, where he became a familiar face to all who lived in this neighborhood. Around 2 years ago, a friend of mine, Zemo, had a broken KitchenAid mixer. A pin was jammed, and no matter how hard he tried, he simply could not remove it. I mean, he was very frustrated. And so he carried this thing all across town to every metal workshop, every hardware store he could find to get help. Every single person rejected him, like, I'm done. And it doesn't help that Zemo doesn't speak a word of Cantonese. And that was until he came to Mr. Lai, whom, despite the language barrier, despite the frailty of his body, took the machine, grabbed one of his tools, and, with a very strong yank, knocked the pin out, and that was that. He saved the machine, he waved Zemo off, and he refused to accept any money. This act of kindness is exactly the kind of human touch and the human connection that makes these stories so especially unforgettable. I was determined to capture Mr. Lai's story, but by the summer of that year, Mr. Lai's shop was closed. It remained closed after several more visits. I began to worry. I asked around and was told that Mr. Lai was never coming back. I was distraught, disappointed, devastated that I haven't gotten around sooner, that I might have missed my chance. Then around 8 months later, I saw a note stuck on Mr. Lai's shop. It read, "Call this number if you need to purchase goods or inquiries." It was like a glimmer of hope. But still, I waited 2 more weeks until I finally gathered the courage to make this call. And to my surprise, it was Mrs. Lai who picked up. I asked her whether they're going to open again, whether I might have a chance to maybe pick up a couple of mailboxes. Mrs. Lai told me to come back the following day, for she and her son Benny will be there cleaning up and packing up the shop for good. Mr. Lai had fallen ill. And so the next day, I packed all my painting gear, got there, and this was when I really had a chance to have a closer look at all the tools and equipment that Mr. Lai has been using for all these decades. Some of these tools were handcrafted by Mr. Lai himself. Some were inherited from other metalsmiths who've retired over the years. Some, aged even well over a century, passed down from previous masters, like the wooden stump in the corner that every single metalsmith would have. I asked, what's going to happen to all these tools? And I was told that they will all be taken to the metal recycler. I was shocked because to me, every piece, every worn out tool is like a relic, a testament to a chapter in Hong Kong's story that should be preserved and treasured. I was lucky to be able to acquire a few of these tools. Unfortunately, the rest will forever be lost to history. And so, in the following weeks, I continued working very hard on this painting. And it is common practice that at the end, when I finish a painting, I would go back and gift a frame print to the family as a way to express my gratitude. On the very day that I completed this painting, on February 16th last year, I received a call. Mr. Lai had passed away that morning. For decades, Mr. Lai has been crossing that harbor all the way from his home in Wong Tai Sin, all the way to Sheung Wan, walking up these steps, working, making mailboxes by hand, until he literally physically could no longer do so. He was 92 years old. And just like that, by sheer chance and fate, I became the witness, the closing of yet another chapter in Hong Kong story. The end of an era. There was no elaborate ceremony, no bells and whistles. Like a tree falling in a forest without making a sound. Mr. Lai may have been gone, but his story lives on. It goes to show how things can just disappear in an instant, in silence, without us noticing in this fast-paced world. Had I not made that call that day, I might have truly missed my one and only chance. Mr. Lai is just one example. There are countless others. So while building my collection, it didn't take long to start noticing a common thread that links all my pieces together. Most of these businesses happened around for a long time. They started around the same period of unprecedented economic growth in Hong Kong, around the 50s, 60s. It would still be a long way before free education came into existence. And it was not uncommon at the time that youngsters would follow their parents' footsteps and begin apprenticing in specialized trades in as early as their teens. But then the rise of modern technology, growing competition from cheap, mass-produced imports from across the border started to shake things up. Things that used to be made to last are now replaced by disposables. Individual craftsmen gradually replaced by machines, factories. Better access to education also meant that a new younger generation is now looking elsewhere for better work opportunities. And as the older generation retires, many trades are left with no successors to carry on. One after another, family-run, multi-generation businesses that have once been the backbone of Hong Kong society begin to disappear, muscled out by stronger, bigger industry players, falling victim to Hong Kong's skyrocketing rents, and now, more so than ever, increasingly being pushed out by gentrification and outdated policies. Everywhere, the things, the places that have once given Hong Kong its truly unique color, character, and heritage are vanishing before our eyes, taking away with them an irreplaceable piece of our city's history, legacy, and memory. They are the silent witnesses of a rapidly evolving Hong Kong, caught in a crossroads as a society marches down a path that seems to increasingly favor uniformity, monotony, and monopoly. Each one is like a thread that weaves whole communities together, and one by one, like a thread being pulled out, this fabric forming our cultural landscape, our cultural identity, and our sense of community slowly unravels and falls apart. This is hardly a phenomenon unique to Hong Kong. It is happening globally. Not all is gloom and doom, however. For some twilight industries, there is still a silver lining. Thanks to increased media coverage and growing public interest, some dying crafts are seeing a revival in interest. Early this year, I returned to the bird market to visit Uncle Choi. He's now 80 years old, and no matter rain or shine, you will find him at the bird market at his shop, patiently repairing bird cages. I was delighted to learn that he now has a devoted team of young apprentices who show up every week, who are eager to learn the craft of birdcage making. And since I've begun this project, I gained a newfound appreciation for old shops and businesses. And while I appreciate the convenience of supermarkets, I find myself sometimes gravitating towards the human touch of a market stall and neighborhood stores. And now, when I walk into Sham Shui Po, I look at my surroundings with wonder and fascination. I find beauty in the chaos. Every time, I still discover something new, something I've missed before, even though they've all been in plain sight for over half a century. I realize that while progress is inevitable and necessary, as we're stepping forward, it is important to remember the steps that led us here. So next time, when you're out and about, slow down, look up from your phones, look around you and listen. Explore and rediscover your neighborhood. Show up, strike up a conversation, make a human connection, and you might find the most extraordinary stories in the most ordinary places. We could be the very last generation to ever witness and experience this remarkable chapter in Hong Kong's story. And there are many steps we can take to honor and continue our unique legacy, be it photography, journalism, or something as simple as reflecting on the way we consume. Become more mindful of the choices we make every day, where we shop, where we eat, how we, as individuals, can contribute, support, and grow our local community. The step I take is to capture and tell these untold stories of Hong Kong through paper and watercolor. What's yours? Thank you.